Welcome to Called to Homeschool with your host, Meg Thomas. I am a mother of 7 with 5 homeschool graduates. Each week, we'll talk about real life homeschool, mindset shifts, and practical tools you can use in your home. Because homeschooling isn't just about school, it's about restoring the family. Hello, welcome back to Called to Homeschool. Always excited to be here. Getting ready for our school year coming up. Super exciting stuff. I record these episodes a little bit ahead of time. So if you're wondering why I'm talking about this next part right now is because when I'm recording this, I just got back from the Wisconsin homeschool workshop. And I had an absolutely amazing time. It was so great to be there in person with everybody. And I know I enjoyed it. And I enjoyed it so much that I'm going to be organizing more of these workshops anywhere in the world for next year. So I will be creating a page on my website for those of you who'd be interested in hosting one of these. And that will be available in the fall so that I can have next summer's lineup already. So anyways, be thinking about that if that's something that you would like for me to come to you and do a homeschool workshop. All right, going back to questions today. And I really like this question. I like all the questions, but I think this question is going to really resonate with a lot of people. And it's a lot of common concerns I hear. And so you're going to want to listen to today's episode. So this is from Andrea from Colorado, and I've broken up her question into chunks where I will read part of the question and I'll answer that, and then I'll read the next part of the question and then answer that. And I feel like that flowed a little bit better. So let's go ahead and dive in. So she just found the podcast and loves it. Thank you so much. And then her questions are that, let's see, she has 3 kids and she's just getting started with homeschool journey and really feel called to it, but is struggling with outside pressure and self-doubt. So she asks about building grit and confidence as a homeschool parent, especially when you don't feel supported. So I want every parent to understand this. Confidence isn't something you feel before you begin something. You have to think, once I feel confident, then I can just homeschool really well. Or once I know exactly what I'm doing, then I'll trust myself. But it actually works backwards. Confidence is just a feeling, and every feeling comes from a thought. So if you're thinking, I'm probably going to mess up my kids, or everyone else knows more than I do, you're probably not going to feel very confident. You're probably going to feel insecure. And when you feel insecure, you hesitate, you second guess your every decision. You constantly look for someone else to tell you what to do. Practicing feeling confident comes from a thought that you tell yourself. So I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to make this work and start building that confidence. But that real confidence is earned. And it comes after you've shown up on the hard days, after you've adjusted when something doesn't work, after you've solved problems you didn't know you could solve, after you watch your child learn to read, discover a passion, ask incredible questions, or simply enjoy learning again. You don't gain confidence by waiting. You gain confidence by doing. So think about this with the high jump in the Olympics. For years, everyone jumped the same way, and it was just how things were done. Then along comes Dick Fosbury. Instead of jumping face first over the bar like everyone else, he ran up and went over backwards. People thought it looked ridiculous. They said it was wrong. They said it would never work. They criticized it because it was different. But he trusted what he had discovered. He kept practicing. And then he won the Olympic gold medal in 1968. Today, almost every elite high jumper uses what we now call the Fosbury flop. Imagine if he had listened to everyone who told him to stop because it looks strange. Homeschooling can feel a lot like that. You're choosing something different than what most people around you are doing. Sometimes family members don't understand, friends question you, even complete strangers have opinions about your decision. That doesn't automatically mean you're wrong. Sometimes it simply means you're willing to do something different because you believe it's better for your family. The people around you may not understand your vision because they aren't living your life. They don't know your children the way that you do, and they don't see the little moments that happen around your kitchen table or on the couch during read aloud time. They don't see the relationships that are growing, but you do. So instead of waiting until everyone around you approves your decision, or until you magically wake up feeling confident, keep taking the next right step. Borrow my belief if you need to, because girl, I've got a lot of it. Trust that confidence is something you build, not something you're handed. Every lesson you teach, every problem you solve, every year you finish becomes another year and piece of evidence that says, I can do this. And that is real confidence. So when we choose a path that's different than the people around us, it often makes other people uncomfortable. And sometimes they become curious. Sometimes they're supportive, and sometimes they are testing us. So the next part of this question is that her sister is a public school teacher and has strong opinions about homeschooling. She'll sometimes quiz my kids, and when she sees them, which makes me feel judged and second guess myself. On top of that, our co op has been inconsistent, and some families we know have even left homeschooling for public school, which makes me wonder if I'm making the right choice. So, when we choose a different path than the people around us, it can often other people become uncomfortable, sometimes curious. Sometimes they're supportive and sometimes they will test us. And I think it is super weird because would she ever walk up to kids in a public school and start quizzing them? Probably not. We don't expect public school children to constantly prove that they're learning. So why do homeschooling families often feel like they have to? Your children don't need to perform to earn someone else's approval. If your sister has concerns, she can have an adult conversation with you. Your children shouldn't feel like they have to defend or justify their education every time they see a relative. I think it's perfectly appropriate to kindly say something like, I'd really appreciate it if you didn't quiz my kids anymore. They don't enjoy it, and I don't think it's a fair measure of how they're doing. Please don't make this a fight. You can just let people know you're not going to talk about that with them, especially if it is something that you really disagree about. You can also prepare your children ahead of time so they don't feel that they are trapped into answering every question someone throws at them. You can have them practice saying things like, oh, I'll rather tell you about something I'm working on, or my mom already knows how I'm doing in school, and give them permission to redirect the conversation. I want our homeschool kids to grow up confident, not feeling like they have to constantly prove themselves. So let's talk about the part of your question where you brought up the co-op. If your co-op is inconsistent, instead of thinking that maybe homeschooling is not right for you, maybe it's time to find another one. Maybe your children don't even need a co-op right now. They're quite young, and they may benefit more from weekly park days, nature hikes, library story times, service projects, or field trips, more than a formal academic co-op. So if you're looking around and saying nothing out there is what I'm looking for, that doesn't exist, maybe that this is your invitation, that you're the one who's supposed to create the right co-op for your family, what your family needs right now. Some of the best homeschool communities started because one mom looked around and said, I wish this existed. My current co-op was created because my good friend wanted something for her teen that didn't exist, and so she created it. And I'm so glad she did because it has been something awesome for my family. And then you talked about families returning to public school, and that can absolutely make you guess your second guess yourself. But remember this, someone else's decision isn't evidence that yours is wrong. Every family has different circumstances, different children, different finances, different health situations, and different priorities. When another family chooses a different path, that doesn't mean that yours should be the same. Stay focused on your children, stay focused on your family's values, stay focused on the vision that led you to homeschooling in the first place, and don't let someone else's path pull you off of theirs. All right, another part of her question goes into socialization. Is another big worry for me. I want my kids to have strong friendships, and recently my daughter started saying she wants to go to school when she's a big kid, like her cousin, after seeing it in a movie. That really shook my confidence. Goodness, the socialization question. I think every homeschool parent has heard it at least 100 times. And I think it is so dumb. Where did we get the idea that children learn social skills by sitting in a classroom with 25 other kids their exact same age, being told to sit down, be quiet, raise their hand, and stay in line? That is not really how socialization works. Real social skills are learned by interacting with all kinds of people. They're learned by talking to grandparents, helping a neighbor, ordering food at a restaurant, playing with your younger children at the park, having conversations with adults, resolving disagreements with siblings, serving others, and participating in your community. That is what real life socialization looks like. I love that in homeschooling, our kids don't just learn how to interact with other kids their age. They learn how to comfortably talk to toddlers, teenagers, adults, and the elderly. That's actually how it really works in the real world. And when people bring up the socialization question, I love to remind them, how do public school kids do socialization during the summer? Do they not have any friends, right? So what do they do? They go to a neighborhood park, play with cousins, join a team, church activities, sports, camps, having friends over to the house. Homeschooling simply gives us the opportunity to live that kind of life all year long. Our kids make friends through repeated experiences in the community, not because they happen to be assigned to the same classroom. Whether it's a weekly park day, a co-op, church, music lessons, sports, anything else, neighborhood friends, friendships grow the same way they do for everyone else. Through time, consistency, and shared experiences. The goal isn't to pack your calendar with social activities. The goal is to create regular opportunities for your children to see the same kids over and over again. That's how deep friendships are formed. And what's awesome is that you can then also encourage your kids with the kind of friends that have families have the same value as yours, instead of just random kids that could have completely different values than your family. And then also don't underestimate the friendships that happen within your own family. Siblings who spend years learning, working, and playing together often develop lifelong friendships. Cousins can become fast friends. Family relationships matter too. Your kids don't need to spend 6 or 7 hours a day with 25 children who happen to be the exact same age. They need meaningful relationships with people who know them, care about them, and enjoy being with them. That's what real friendship and socialization is about. Now we'll dive into your daughter saying she wants to go to school when she's older because she saw it in a movie. Can I make a suggestion? Are you making that mean more than it does? Because guess what? Children say things. One day they want to be a firefighter. The next day they want to live on a Mars, or they're a puppy. The next day they are going to buy 12 dogs. We don't hear those things and start panicking. We often play along or ask questions or go to the make-believe world with them. So why panic when they are especially so young and say that they might want to go to school someday? Your child comment isn't a verdict on your homeschooling. It's just a thought she's having in that moment. Maybe she's curious. Maybe the movie made school look exciting. Maybe she wants to know what her cousin experiences every day. Curiosity doesn't mean your homeschool is failing. Sometimes we accidentally turn our children's comments into evidence against ourselves. Instead of thinking, maybe she hates homeschooling, try thinking, that's interesting. Tell me what looks fun about that. Getting curious instead of defensive. You may discover she isn't asking for school at all. Maybe she's asking for more friends, more independence. Maybe lockers look really fun, or she just wants to know what recess is and how can she do that. When we stay curious, we can solve the actual problem instead of the one that we've imagined. And Finally, if you want your children to love homeschooling, make it a life they love. Read amazing books together, go on adventures, building forts, baking bread, visiting museums, laughing, having so much fun. You don't have to create homeschool at home, as public school at home. One of the greatest gifts we can give our children is showing them that learning is joyful, that family is fun, and that education isn't something confined to a classroom. When home is full of connection, adventure, and meaningful learning, children discover they wouldn't trade that for anything. And if someday, after thoughtful conversation and prayer, one of your children truly wants to try school, you can cross that bridge then. You don't need to solve tomorrow's problems today. Just create a homeschool life that your family loves right now. And the last question, how do you develop a thick skin and stay rooted in your decision when you're surrounded by doubt or criticism? And what are practical, realistic ways to help young kids build friendships and feel socially fulfilled in a homeschool environment? I don't think the goal is to develop thick skin. The goal is to become so rooted in your own values that you no longer need everyone else's approval. I also think that maybe if you're getting a lot of criticism or doubt, that maybe you're either complaining to other people or trying to convince them to think your way. And it's probably something that I wouldn't bring up to those types of people anymore, because not every person you meet is going to agree with homeschooling, just like not every homeschooling parent likes public school. It's not our job or their job to try to convince us that one way is right and one way is wrong. You get to choose what's best for your family, and other people get to choose what's best for their family. So you can allow people to be wrong about you and your decision. They can think that homeschooling is a mistake, or that your children are missing out, or you've made the wrong decision. You don't need to spend time or energy trying to convince them otherwise. You can simply let them think what they want to think, and it still doesn't change what's true for your family. Don't waste the emotional energy trying to get other people to understand your decision. And asking yourself, why does it matter so much? Are you hoping suddenly they'll decide to homeschool, or they'll finally approve of your choice? Because that is going to be exhausting to be putting your energy into that. Save your energy for the people who genuinely want to support you. I've also learned that not every conversation is worth having. If someone has made it clear they don't support homeschooling, don't bring it up. Don't give them updates. Don't defend your curriculum or explain why you took a Tuesday off to go hiking. Some relationships just become much healthier when homeschooling simply isn't the topic of conversation. And when you're having a really hard homeschool day, and everybody has them, be careful who you vent to. If you call someone who already believes homeschooling is a terrible idea, they're probably going to use your hard day as evidence that you should quit. That's not because they're trying to be mean, it's because they're interpreting your struggle through their own beliefs. Instead, find people who understand homeschooling. Find the friend who can say, I've been there too. Find the mentor, the coach, Meg, who remind you that hard days happen in every form of education. Public school families have hard days. Private school families, charter school families, and homeschool families all have hard days. A hard day isn't evidence that you're on the wrong path. It's evidence that you're doing something worthwhile. As I wrap up today, I just want to remind you that you don't have to homeschool exactly like anyone else. You don't need everyone to approve of your decision, and you certainly don't need to have all the answers before you begin. Your children don't need a perfect parent. They need a parent who is intentional, willing to learn, and committed to doing what is best for their family. So when the doubts creep in or the criticism gets loud, come back to your why. Trust that you know your children better than anyone else. Keep taking the next right step. Keep creating a home where learning is joyful. And remember, we're not just educating our children, we are also building a family and restoring families. So friends, keep up the good work. Confidence comes after you have had taken action. And as you keep doing these things, you will create an amazing homeschool. Friends, I hope you have an amazing week, and I will talk to you next time. Thanks so much for listening to Call to Homeschool. If today's episode was helpful, the best way you can support the show is by leaving a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It helps more homeschool moms find this work, and I appreciate it so much.